Hello, hello. Welcome to episode 188, looking at the present and future. As always, I am your host, Mike. We're back after a couple of weeks off with personal and professional conflicts on our schedules. I've got Bill, I've got Kenny with me. I'll start from left to right. Bill, how are you?
Doing pretty good.
Good to be back. It's been a couple of weeks. I feel like we've
It's been a
needed
while,
this.
yeah.
A couple of weeks, I'd say. Kenny,
It's
welcome
been
back.
it's been even a bigger while since I've been on here.
Seriously. Yeah, it's been a little. Have you've been back? Yeah, you've been back since Mateo was born, but other than that,
Yeah.
maybe once.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
been just a couple of times I've popped my head in here. But looking forward to it.
Welcome
today.
to dad life.
Yeah.
Managing your schedule is not easy with a little one now, huh?
No, and daylight savings time does not help.
It made it even worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. We've got lots to cover today, obviously, given the fact that we were gone for a little bit. We're going to look at present and future. So we'll look at Bruno Lage just completed his 10 matches in his second return to the club, or in his return to the club. We'll look at his current stats. We'll look at a comparison to what his first 10 games looked like when he first joined Benfica a few years back in that epic turnaround and title run. We'll look ahead to Bayern Munich on Wednesday. Big game in Bavaria against the Bayern Munich team that only has 3 points in 3 matches in the Champions League. They have less points than us. Are they going to be more desperate? And could that play into our favor? We'll talk about that. And then we'll look ahead, obviously, the inevitable Clásico at the weekend against Porto, a match that for some reason, no matter what form we're in, who's on our bench, who's scoring goals, who's on the other side, it's always a crapshoot. You just never know what the hell's going to come of that game, at least from our perspective. We know what we're going to get from their perspective, regardless of who's wearing the jersey. Our perspective is just a huge incognito year after year. So we'll get into that. Before we get started, whatever platform you're tuning in on, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or not Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, I don't know, all of them. Make sure you hit the like, subscribe, follow. We appreciate that. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button for this stream. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that. And just quickly, we'll mention it a little bit later, but we officially announced our event that we will be hosting January 11th here in Massachusetts. We are expecting a good turnout. So if you don't have your tickets yet, please do get in contact with us and we can help you out with some tickets. But we've got some cool prizes, some raffle items. We've got some autographed memorabilia that's coming directly from the club, which will be exciting. And we may have a surprise or two in terms of legends making an appearance at the event. So make sure you get in contact with us if you do not have your tickets yet. All right, let's get started. So 10 games in, Bruno Lage returns. And Kenny, I know that you've been in and out, probably followed more of what's happening just based on our chat conversations and iMessage more so than being able to sit down in front of the TV and watch the
Very
game.
high
And I'm
level.
sure, and the times you have had an opportunity to actually look at the TV, I'm sure Mateo's been on your lap and you've been trying to make bottles and clean spit up and all that stuff. We've all been there. So, so we're 10 games in. I'm going to start with you, Kenny. 10 games into his return. 9 wins, 1 loss. The one loss of all his 10 games in his return, I think we probably all can agree that we wouldn't have expected it to come against Feyenoord at home. All of them, I think we all had hashed, at least Kenny wasn't on at the time, but I think Bill, I think we had all agreed that that Atletico game at home potentially could have been that one that may have thrown things over the edge for us, just given, the quality of Atletico Madrid, their history in European competitions. They're typically a difficult nut to crack. So 9 wins, 1 loss. We've got 31 goals scored, 7 goals conceded. In the league, he's won them all. We've been in decent form. Hold on, let me just add Oscar in here. He decided to make an appearance. Welcome, Oscar. Kenny, what are your initial thoughts in terms of kind of this run of form at the moment? Obviously, having had Bruno Lage in the past, we know what he was able to do with us in the past and how he left, what his career path was after he left us. Were you expecting this type of run or not so much?
Yeah, look, watching everything from afar, because I haven't been following Benfica as much as I'd like to, but I've been hearing everything from from behind the scenes and listening to you guys and on the group chat. It seems like we've made a complete 180 on the season from where we started early on. And I wasn't a big supporter of Roger Schmidt at the end of last season. I was very surprised Rui Costa made the decision to stay on with him into this season. But I also didn't expect Lage to be the pick. I didn't expect Lage to come in and be on the run that he is now. I'm more to believe that guys coming back, just from our recent history, guys coming back, just like JJ, right? That it isn't the best of decisions. Like, you don't have the same success as you've had the first time around. But the squad is pretty much what it was with Roger Schmidt. So it seems like he's doing more with the squad. He's figured out the right core to put out there. And I also think, which if for me, a surprise of all the players, Ortuglu has become kind of the guy that has sparked the team into the form that we're seeing them right now. So a lot of surprises. So surprise from Lage, a success. Ortuglu really carrying the team. But as a whole, I think from the very little that I've seen, the team is firing on all cylinders right now, except for the forwards. I still think, for whatever reason, the forwards, the two main guys, Cabral and Pavlidis, are, a little maybe a little unlucky, but two guys up top that seem to, they have the build, they have the I think the skill. They should be doing better than what they're producing.
Yeah, we can get into that quickly. First, I just want to say welcome back, Oscar. How are you?
I'm good. Just welcome my baby back from the cold. He's like freezing.
Just an FYI, I was telling the guys before we came online that when I read your message this morning, I thought you meant Julia was going to be coming back from mass, as in like church mass. And I was like, she didn't go to church when she was living here.
She had to go pray. She was praying for Oscar's soul.
And then Bill was like, no, she was in mass. And I was like, oh, mass, like the state mass. Okay, that makes more sense. So all day I was extremely confused as to what the hell was going on. But welcome back. Bill, what would you add to what Kenny says? You've obviously followed it a little bit more closely. Just to compare to his previous, so again, 9 wins, 1 loss, 31 goals scored, 7 goals conceded in his current return to the club. In his initial stint with the club, his first 10 matches in charge of Benfica, obviously took over in that match at home, but we won 4-2 against the UAV. In his first 10 matches at that stage of his career, he also had 9 wins, 1 loss, which is interesting. He had 32 goals scored, 10 goals conceded. So 1 more goal scored, 3 more goals conceded. To note, of those 32 goals scored, in the middle of that was that 10-0 victory against Nacional. So if we take that out, it skews the numbers a little bit. But again, I don't remember if you were on the same page. At least I was not. Lage wasn't my preference. Kenny just stated it also wasn't his preference. I can't remember what side of the fence you were on.
He was not my preference.
Bringing that all together, is this Oscar? We know might be the only one on the panel that was his preference.
Yeah.
Are you surprised in any way?
Yeah. He wasn't my choice. And I think he's done well in 2 aspects. I think he's done very well to get the fans back behind the team. And I don't think it's just his doing. I think there was a lot of discussion from behind the scenes. Rui.
I was going to say, do you think that was that?
100%.
Do you think that played into part of the decision?
Yeah, I do. I think I don't know if he was a popular choice between like the fans as a whole, but I think picking someone from Benfica, like he made his name at Benfica, came through the youth system, all that stuff. Bringing him back, I think it was a calculated decision to where we can bring this guy back and he can try to help reconnect the club and the team to the fans. And he's done it. Like you can tell, like even when we over the weekend we went down, the fans weren't like against the team at any point. And I mean that game against Atletico, that stadium was. I mean, you were there, Mike. That you could hear it like on the TV, like you could tell the atmosphere was nuts. And I think I think that was a choice from Rui and a decision from many people in the club to try to win the fans back, because I think that the hostility between the fans and Roger at the end was at an all-time high, and I think they made a smart decision, right? Pick a guy that can hopefully win the fans back by bringing them back to the club and playing well. And I was surprised that he's able to, how quickly they were able to kind of switch it on, right? And I figured he's coming in, he's going to take a while to get the team playing well again, but it seemed like some tactical decisions right off the bat, minor changes, kind of positioning wise with Koksu, because he came back. Koksu, those first couple of games was unbelievable. He's come down to earth a little bit, but still playing well. And I agree with Kenny. I think Kadem has brought like an additional spark, not just going forward. I think it's just his work rate in general. Like we saw against who was it? Was it Red Star? He switched him onto the other side to help cover defensively for
Cabore.
Yeah, Cabore. And his work rate is through the roof, and we've seen it since then, right? He's one of those players that it doesn't look like he ever gets fucking tired. Like he just runs for days. Doesn't matter if it's defensively, going forward, like he just always has that energy and that spark. And he's one of those players that seems to find himself in the right position in the 18. And he scored some crucial goals for us over the weekend. He made a crucial pass over to Carreras for the first goal. So little things like that surprised me, how quickly Lage was able to get the team playing the way we are. I think we've come back down a bit. We were on like a real fucking high after that Atletico game, and I think these last few games have come down. Granted, a lot of squad rotation for the Tasa game. We've come down a little bit, but I think he has a team playing well. And I mean, he wasn't my choice, but I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. And just to touch on Kenny's point of the strikers, I think, yes, I would love to see more goal production from them, and we're starting to see it a little bit from Pavlidis. 3 goals in the last 2 games, but I think the Pavlidis in general, I think the work he does off the ball, creating space for Kerem and others to get their goals, I think is invaluable. And I think you noticed a huge drop in quality when Cabral is in, right? That you don't see the same work rate and the same like openings, right, being created. And but the work Pavlidis does is, I think, second to none. And yeah, I want to see more goals production for him because he's your striker and that's what you want. But I think the stuff he does off the ball and away from the goal is a bit underrated.
He's second leading scorer still, given the drought that he had been on. He's got 5 goals in all competitions. Aktürkoğlu has 8, and then he's got 3 assists in all competitions, which is tied with the most. With like, there's 4 other players with 3 assists. So he is.
But is it just? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I just had. But is it just me? And again, watching from afar and watching highlights, does he seem to like miss some pretty big sitters?
I off the top of my head, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, there was one, I believe, in against Atletico that I think he mishit, that I think he hit the post or it just went wide
at the end of the first half.
And
Didn't he
maybe
have
there
one
was
just this last game too?
this last game. I feel like the only chance he had to score was the one that he actually put away. Off the top of my head, Bill
I
or
thought I
Oscar, I don't know
saw-
if you can think of.
I remember
He had a left-footed
one,
shot. He had a left-footed shot
he
at the
took it
top
off
of the
his
box.
chest. There was one
That went straight to
inside,
the keeper.
like at the PK spot. He took it off his chest, but there was like 3 defenders closing down as he went to shoot it.
But to answer your question, I feel, and I mean, Bruno Lage has also stated it, right? Like we need to find more ways to get him the ball, right? Like I feel like the times that he does get the ball in goal scoring positions, he seems to be pretty efficient or capable of creating something with it. It's just we went on a run there where like we were never getting him the ball, which was just painful, right? Like this guy was just running his balls off. And like we couldn't get him the ball in the box, like or anywhere near where a player of his caliber would need it to be able to put the ball in the net. But yeah, if anyone else in the chat has any that stand out in terms of glaring misses, please refresh my brain because
the only other thing I was going to mention about the strikers was, I don't know if it was this last game or 2 games ago, him and Cabral were playing together too. Was that like
that was this last game?
This last game.
Yeah.
Was that
not this game? Not Firenze. It was the one before that.
Santa Clara.
Yeah, Santa Clara.
Yeah.
Was that on purpose or was that?
It was. Yeah. So in that
game,
and he did the same thing against Firenze. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we almost moved to like a hybrid back line of a back 3 with our outside backs pushing forward.
Is that
and then we ended up with.
I think
I mean, he played with 2 strikers when he was here the first time. It was 2 different strikers. He had Sef and Felix, right? So 2 different types of strikers. Obviously, Pavlidis and Artur Cabral are 2 different types of strikers. But while I would compare mobility, Pavlidis to Seferovic, if I don't know if you guys disagree in terms of like being able to press, being able to move off the ball. Yeah, but Artur is nothing like Felix. So
Artur's more of a poacher.
He's got one version. He's got one version of what he had years ago, but the other version he doesn't. He's missing that piece. But that's the piece that Kerem could potentially give him, right? Because he put him behind the striker against Firenze. He moved him back there as well against Santa Clara for the Taça. So that could be a dynamic that he could try to find some usefulness in. Is Kerem, I would say, is probably closer to the type of player João Felix was at that time at Benfica that could potentially create the dynamic with him and Pavlidis. Before I pass the ball to Oscar for his kumbaya on Bruno Lage, I just want to say I also was not in favor of him. Well, not in favor. He wasn't my preference. I would have preferred to see someone else. But I said it before he joined. I said it before Roger Schmidt was moved on. I have no issues with coming here or anywhere and putting my hand up and saying, right, like I was wrong. And right now we're 10 games in and I agree. I think he is the right choice as of right now. Again, it's still early days. Time will tell. But I will say one thing that I would credit him with is we're playing every 3 days, right? And he said it before, there's not much time to actually practice, right? Like a lot of the time that the team is spending between games is recovery, analyzing your opponents, kind of working on specifics for those games, but not having the ability to like actually practice dynamics and tactics and do all that stuff. So given the time that he's been here with 10 games, 9 wins, 1 loss, again, that 1 loss coming in a match that probably none of us would have expected it to come in. Hats off to what he's been able to do. I think the key piece to it is that, like Kenny said, I think he's found kind of that core of the 11 and he hasn't really deferred from it much. Not that potentially he doesn't want to rotate some pieces, but I think more from a security blanket for him of like, this is what's working. I don't have much time to like work all these other nuances. So let me just stick with what's working and not make too many drastic changes where it's going to kind of throw the fluidity off or throw the dynamic off. I think if you watch the game against Pavlidis with the variety of changes, right? Like the team just looked really off, right? There was just not much cohesion. So I think that's 2 pieces that I would call out in his benefit is, the limited amount of time, his ability to find that core, and he's made it work. And again, all I can hope is that we have a remake, a redo of his first season here, and we're all celebrating and cheering at the end of the season. Time will tell. But I'm going to pass it over to Bruno Lage's spokesperson so he can give us his opinion on these first 10 games back.
Guys, the thing is, I don't even have to talk because, you know,
when he starts his comments with guys and sits up, you know it's going to be good.
No. I mean, he speaks for himself. Like, he comes in, he does exactly what I thought he was going to do, which is unite the team, unite the fans, because that guy's likable. It's not like one of those coaches that are arrogant. It's a likable guy. And he did just
I'll agree with that.
He united the team. That was the first, and then made the fans believe in the thing. And then the easiest thing in that, and I thought Roger complicated it. He made this tactics simple. He simplified the whole tactical lineup that we had. Like, instead of playing guys from the midfielders and the outside, fucking play your positions. Put the guys in their position and let them play. And that's
although he did that this weekend.
What do you mean?
He put Auschwitz basically as a right wing back.
Right wing.
Well, let's not wait. We basically went to hybrid defense. They were not attacking, so we needed to score a goal. And
I'm not criticizing, because I felt like in that second half we actually controlled the game a lot better.
Right. So, but in Arsenal is a guy that is basically like we can play any position on the field and he'll do phenomenal. But I'm talking about, like, we need wingers to play wing. And he simplified the whole system. Another thing that I have here is he adjusts when needed. Which
I don't have to say much, but he's got notes written down.
No, I wrote some notes. This weekend he had to adjust, and he did just that. Like, the first half, like, Roger seems like his plan was plan A and no other plan B. Like, he just went with that plan. Like, let's fucking go. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, we lose or tie. Like, Lodge adjusted the system, kind of made the team, okay, this is not working. Let's adjust to this. Let's make it work. And now it's been out for him. And the guy's just like, for some reason he left me with a bad taste when he left the first time around, because of what happened with COVID and all that. I know you guys are saying COVID happened to everybody, and it's 3 months after, and we had 3-month break and blah, 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 blah. But that shit, like, legit, like, fucked with a lot of people, and some people more than others, right? Family members were lost. And I think he left, and he said it himself. He goes, I didn't leave on how I wanted to leave Benfica. So
correct. I mean, obviously he didn't want to get sacked.
No, exactly. But I think at that time, Vieira and Rui Costa should have been like, okay, start a season and let's see how you do now that open season. Like, the COVID is not in the way. It was still at that second season of his after COVID. It was still COVID, but like, it was controlled, and we could have had
correct. But in that, again, and I don't want to go down that path again, but in that situation when he left the first time, I think I don't know if you guys remember, but I remember it very clearly. There was just no conditions for him to continue. I mean, we had lost a 7-point gap, right? Like, we were playing terrible ball. That game against Maritimo away from home was basically, he threw everything at the wall to see what would stick, and we just played atrocious. And now, again, just to close this off, do I think that Luis Vieira was making deals in the background behind the curtain with Jorge Jesus for him to come back? 100%. And Bruno Lage said that in a press conference, which he ended up leaving in bad terms with the journalists at that time, because he said, you know, quem é que vos anda a pagar os almoços, etc., para me tirar o meu lugar. And then I thought it was funny when he was presented in this return here, he went and shook hands with all the journalists in the press room. It was almost like kind of babies. Right, like, hey, you know, let's make up for how I left the previous time, and let's kind of draw a line in the sand and move forward from here. So, but I agree, right? He said he felt like his ending here didn't end the way that he wanted to, which naturally, right? He's a guy from the house. He's been at Benfica for 25, 30 years. He surely wouldn't have wanted to have been sacked. He surely would have wanted to end it with a better story. And again, I'm very hopeful, and I hope that everyone else is that he's able to rewrite that story and end, or when he decides to move away, it's on his terms and on a high.
Bruno Lage, the way he came to Benfica, I compare very much how Amorim came to Sporting, like a new coach, still without a license, won now when it came to Mourinho to Sporting, won the first year he was there, right after 19 years of not winning,
Well,
and then
the
he
second
but then he got
came half year,
fourth place and
second, and then fourth.
Yes, right, and then they gave him they could see his work ethic. They could
Yeah,
see
but you can't compare that, Oscar.
I-
I'm sorry, you
well,
can't
you
compare.
can, but look,
Do you think Benfica fans are gonna? You think ask the ones here, right? Are you gonna be okay with the coach coming in, right? Regardless of what coach it is, what's invested, right? You win the season, right, and then the following year you finish in second. Okay, fine. Then the following year you finish in fourth. There's no coach at Benfica that's going to be able to withstand that. No coach. None. I don't know if Kenny or Bill, you disagree with that, but I don't see any. Given the expectations that Benfica has, there's no chance that a coach is going to be able to withstand that.
I don't see it either, but I see if there's work being done.
I agree. I understand what you're getting at, right? If you see if there's a vision, right? But unfortunately, Benfica fans and the expectation of Benfica as a whole is to win now every time. And there's okay, you can win and finish second or have a bad year, finish third. Okay, but like to win, finish second, finish fourth, I don't think there's any at Benfica that's going to be able to withstand that. At Sporting, it'll work. Porto, it's worked, right? But like Benfica, given the dimension of the club and the expectation, I mean, JJ was probably the only one that was able to withstand that bullet.
Yeah.
He ended up on the back end of it, ended up working out, right? But like you can go back 20, just say go back to 2000. I don't think we've had a coach that's been able to withstand that.
The only thing is with JJ, like when he came in 2009 and he won, and then he didn't win for a couple of years, and he won whatever. Like you could see that he was getting the right players in the system.
Correct.
He was doing the work was being done, and even though we hate not winning, I think that like with Roger, I didn't see the work being done. I saw him getting a lot of players that were like, "What the fuck is he getting this player for?" And then when he got those players, he didn't know what to do with them. Like that's to me, that's what shows like he had no vision for the future. He didn't have a plan to make the Benfica better. If I see Bruno Lage can do that, even if he doesn't win this year, give him next year to start from fresh, and then see how the work develops next year. Let's see what kind of player he brings in. See how he integrates these players in the team. Like that's the kind of thing I want to see from Bruno Lage, and give him like that. What you guys fight about from Roger, we need continuity, like blah blah blah. If work is being done and that you can see stuff is being done on the field, give it to him, because I believe in that. And I don't give a
Kenny,
fuck.
what's your take on this? I feel like
if you're talking like next year, right? Like if he doesn't win this year, I don't disagree. Like he probably has next year guaranteed,
unless the rest of the season goes to fucking absolute shit.
If he finishes second or third,
and he finishes second or third, and like you can see the team is progressing, we're competitive. Like I have no issue with it. Like we can't keep ripping, right? I said it with Roger, right? Like, and I'm gonna stick by what I think is we can't keep just ripping the carpet out from underneath and restarting every year, every 2 years, right? And I hope that we move away from that. And I said it in a conversation recently is right. If Bruno Lage is to win the game win the title this season, right? And are we going to be back to where we were 2 months ago, right? Where, you have a winning season and then the following year things start to unravel, right? It happened with every coach that we've had in the past 10 years, right? I hope maybe he can be the difference and change that. But it's like embedded in this club, and we need to find someone that's able to break that pattern. Hopefully he's the one. But Kenny, how do you look at this?
No, I agree. I don't think. I think you just can't have a complete collapse, right? I think that's where changes need to be made. Like you said, if you're competitive and it's a, you're there till the end and you just aren't able to get over the hump, that's fine. But if I think Lage's demise was that he had the league at the palm of his hand and he let it slip, like complete plummeted, a 7-point lead and just completely lost it. Now, I will say Oscar does have he made a point about Lage coming in and having a plan and having a vision. I am starting to become a guy where like Benfica went through a phase where we were rotating coaches. I felt like every year, right? Because we needed to win now, and this was pre JJ, right? So like, oh my God, there was so many of them, but like
What, before JJ?
Trapattoni's, before JJ, like
Kiki Fonseca, we had
Kiki Fonseca,
Camacho.
right? A lot of estrangeiros, and you were just kind of going through them because we need to win now. We need that manager, right? But like once we got over that hump and JJ was there and had a plan, had the like Oscar was saying, like this vision long term. I do think you need a guy that's in house, right? Like a JJ, like a Bruno Lage, a Vitória, like guys that are Portuguese, within the Benfica family, to have that vision long term. Because the Roger experiment for me, yeah, he won, but I agree with Oscar. He did not have a long term plan. There was no the youth movement or anything like that. Like it was just a mishmash of players that were coming in, and the whole squad was kind of like just to me a complete mess.
Well, we can blame that. We can also point the finger at leadership as well.
You can, because they are part of that vision. But I was one that like, yeah, well, let's bring in a Estrangeiro. But I am now looking back at this, I kind of agreed, because Oscar was on the boat of like, let's keep a Portuguese guy in here. Let's keep someone that knows the team, knows Benfica, knows the league. If you want that long-term vision, and now that we have had the success, because we went through a drought period, right? We were going through the managers just to get that win now mentality. But now that we have won and we want to maintain this long-term success, I think we need a stable guy in there. Sorry to say it, but like the era that Sergio Conceição had, the era that Ruben Amorim's having, we need that stability. And maybe Lage is the guy. Maybe he can be here, 5-6 years and have a run of his own and create a monster that we should be consistently in this league.
To me,
I don't disagree. But the problem is, and like Mike said earlier, it takes one season where we don't finish second or third, but
that ties back to the expectations.
That's the problem,
right?
Right? We finish fourth, and then it's the fans are throwing rocks at the buses. The fans are throwing flares all over the place. The fans are protesting.
And that's where I think we need to improve is, okay, if we have this continuity, which I preached for with Roger, because I was hopeful that we could find that path again. If we have that continuity, if we have a bad year, right, we can't just start to light everything on fire and be like, it's not working, fuck it, let's start all over, right? And we've done that consistently, right? And I'm completely in favor, right? It's not very common that you see big clubs in Europe maintain managers for long periods of time anymore, right? Like that's a thing of the past. You don't see guys 8, 9, right? I mean, Simeone is an exception. I think Ruben Amorim is like top 10 in Europe for like longest continuity on a team in Europe, or maybe even top 5.
Pep at City.
Right? Pep. But I mean, even if you Arteta, but I mean, you could probably name less than 10 that have been for a decent amount of time. But again, I'm 100% in favor of that. It's just, I think us as fans, we have to be more realistic with the reality, right? Like just because I get it, we're Benfica, I get it. The expectation is that we win every year. We're not going to win every year, but as long as we're competitive and we're showing improvement and we're doing things right, we have to stay the course, right? Unless it absolutely goes to shit. Oscar, what are you going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say it's that expectation comes with money we spend. So
correct.
We the last years with the Jorge Jesus and Roger Schmidt, we spent a lot of money. For that money we spent, we should be guaranteeing at least a title in Portugal. Like that's the minimum we can expect. And fans know that. Fans know that. Listen, we spent over $100 million. Nobody in Portugal ever comes close to that. Like other than Benfica. If we don't win this title, it's like PSG loses in France once every 10 years, but they expected to win 9 out of 10 with the money they spend.
Correct, but we've talked about this here in the past, right? Like money doesn't guarantee you success, and the example is right. We sold, and that's where I think a lot of, and I'm going to speak on behalf of Benfica fans, not other clubs, but like we sold Enzo Fernandez for 120 million, right? That's a lot of money, right? And then we can go get Kokshu for 20, 25 million. We can go get whoever else for 10 million, 20, right? So of that 120 million, you can go and invest 80, right? But for you to go get a player that has the impact that Enzo had in the team, in that dynamic, and be able to perform like he was and get the right, it's so hard for you to basically take that guy out and say, okay, we made 120 million. We invested 80. That's a lot of investment. But for you to get the return on the field immediately for that player that left is very hard.
Right, but you instead of wasting 15, 20, 15, get a good replacement for that position, a little bit more expensive, and then you fix your problem.
But in what, I don't get what you're trying to say.
It's that you lose Enzo for that position, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, Enzo is a caliber above most players.
So you're saying instead of going to buy two players for 20
3 or 4
each,
players at 20 million, buy somebody at 40 that can.
Yeah, and then
Within
you're
the
gonna,
salary cost.
and then what's someone's salary that costs
you know,
40 million?
I'm not sure. I'm just saying.
That's the thing.
Right, that's the thing.
It's not just the price tag; it's the salary that comes along with it.
Somebody in PSV and Ajax, you can probably buy some player that's
not at that. I mean, we went and bought the best player in the Dutch league, Kokshu, for 25 million.
Yeah, but then they played him in the wrong position. So how are you going to do?
But that's what I'm saying, right? You said go pay a little bit more. We bought the MVP of the Dutch league that year for 25 million. I can't imagine. I mean, there was maybe 2 or 3 others that were more expensive. Jimenez at the time, they wanted more money for him, a striker. But I mean, Pavlidis was one of the leading scorers too. We just got him for under 20, right? So what I'm saying is I understand, right? Instead of buying 2 for 20 each, why not spend 40 on one? Right. But then you also have to factor in a player that's going to cost you 40. Their salary is going to be substantially higher than a player that you went and got for 20 million from the Dutch league. Right. So
that's not always the truth. I mean, I'll guarantee João Neves costs, PSG at 60 million or whatever it is. They're probably one of the bottom paid in PSG.
Yeah, but where's he coming from, Karad? You got to look at the. If we
I'm
go buy,
I'm not saying
where are we going to go buy someone for 40 million?
I'm not saying go pick him up at Chelsea or Arsenal or Manchester City. I'm saying pick him up in a league that's compatible to Portugal.
Yeah, but compatible to Portugal? Say the Dutch league. Who's worth 40 million in the Dutch league other than Jimenez, which I think his release clause was 30. You're not going to find many $40 million players outside of the big 5. I mean, Aktürk Koglu, we just paid fucking 11 million for him.
I'm not saying go ahead because we have 80 million to spill and go spend 80 million.
No, I understand what you're saying.
But instead of getting migalhas, get somebody solid. You know what I mean? But I understand Kokshu was supposed to be the next Enzo,
right.
or
and that's the unfortunate thing. Is there's never that guarantee.
You're not always going to hit. Yeah,
there's never that guarantee. Exactly.
So I get that. To be honest with you, I'm a guy that I like the system that Rui Costa and Vieira had created, which is within and then fill in spots from outside with stuff they don't have in the house, right? And I think Benfica was in a good project, had a good thing going. We had players coming up, players stepping up and actually Ruben Diaz of the world and all that, João Felix, players coming up into the system and actually wanting to be playing the B team because they knew they had a chance coming out to the A team, right? So, but now that kind of with Roger that stopped, and that's why I hated having a Estrangeiro, even though you guys brought up the stats about Estrangeiros winning the most titles. I get it, but that ended because you want to get young players from outside and kind of set aside.
Yeah, but if you don't have the talent within, then you got to go get it somewhere else.
I get it. I said that, but we stopped. Did anybody else talk about João Neves came through the youth, right? But other than João Neves, we stopped talking about that youth team.
Because is there anyone else? It's going to happen eventually. It's the well is going to run dry
with Bruno Lage
for a few years, and it happened at Barca, all those years with bringing up everyone.
We have all youth team right now playing
now.
Now they're back.
Years did they go? and put themselves in a hole of debt because they didn't have anyone on the youth team.
Exactly.
And they had to go buy from without.
Exactly.
From
They're in
outside.
debt. Why is Benfica in debt right now too? Or
But
almost
it
struggling?
happens.
Because Roger
you-
Schmidt wants to get all those players that you guys talking right now for Barca.
Yes, because you don't have from within. If you don't have the talent, you just
And
want to promote shit.
Bill, then okay, we get
promote shit for no just.
Bill.
So you want to promote youth players just to promote youth players, so we can say we promote youth players. If
Listen,
they're not, if
alright.
the quality's not there, you
He's
can't.
not
You don't promote them.
Okay, so you get quality from
Simple.
outside. You get quality from outside. Tell me what the quality is doing from the outside, sitting on the bench, just like the youth player would be saying.
But
Correct. They give you a different. There's a.
I'll bring up a point too. I'll let you guys
ahead,
finish though.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say. So like, we have one of the better academies. Like, let's just
We
talk
just
about
got
the
voted
top.
best academy again.
So
we
let's
don't
talk
need
about
it.
the top 3 in Portugal, right? We have unlimited resources. We have top academy out of the top 3. We have the money, right? We can go buy we sell high. We can go buy high. We have the academy. I think where we lack and where we've gotten away from is buying players internally within the league. And I understand where you might go with this is, well, you know, the Bragas, the Guimarães, they try to overprice the players to sell to us or whatever. But that's, I think, where we've gone away from is buying within, you know, the better players within the league, because we had a run that we had success there, right? The Pizzi's,
Lima.
the Rafes, the Limas, like we had really good success. And these players, they're already adapted to the league. They already know the style of play. They can come in and like Lima came in right away. Pizzi, the Rafa, they come in right away and they can play. They don't have to adapt like Coxu for 6 months before.
To your point, Kenny, I would rather pay 30 million for a Lima coming from Braga than 20 for Pavlidis coming from a different league that has to get adapted and it takes them 6 months to start scoring goals. Like that's what I mean. Benfica's like, okay, Guimarães know he's selling to Benfica, so they're gonna sky up, raise the price for the player. And for Porto, they probably sell for a half. But guess what? Benfica is the team they're gonna sell a player in France more expensive to PSG than they sell to Lyon. You know why? Because they have more power. They can afford that player. Benfica should be doing that. And then because are you gonna favor Porto and Sporting? You sell to them cheaper, so I'm not buying from you. Guess what? Now you have to go estrangeiro, buy a player more expensive, pay a higher salary,
100%.
and still.
But how many? I mean, I'll challenge you guys.
Okay.
Can you name me? Can you name me 6 players that we bought in Portugal that ended up being top-notch players?
Rafa, you just said it. Rafa, Pizzi, Lima.
Pizzi wasn't in Portugal.
What was Pizzi? Atletico Madrid.
Atletico Madrid.
No, so
Okay.
I'll keep waiting. Can you name me 6? I'll keep waiting.
Well, dude, if you obviously at the top of my head, I can go back and name them.
Okay, and now I'm going to challenge you the other way. Can you name me 6 players that we bought from the Estrangeiro that ended up panning out and ended up going on and doing
Because
great things?
Yeah, but you can. But for those 6, you can also name probably 6 more that didn't pan out either.
and
right
paid it
now.
all
Right,
more,
but you
double
can
more.
name.
Well, we can also do
Right.
that for internally.
No, but what I'm
Transfers
trying,
that we
but
paid
wouldn't you
internally
say?
that
So let me
sucked.
challenge you. Let me challenge you here. Wouldn't you say that Porto and Sporting now have had more success with those type of players, like filling in and being more competitive than Benfica
That
has?
they've in terms
Buying
of competitive,
internally?
in terms of competitive, I'm
What
not
about-
going to disagree. But
What about
in terms
Ederson,
of
a block?
yeah, but Ederson was
Those
because
were
he was
academy
loaned to
players,
Rio
Pereira.
No,
Ave.
but he came from Riwav. You had him, right?
No, we
Yeah,
had
he was
him,
loaned.
and we
We
loaned
loaned him to Rio Ave.
What
We'd
about
have to-
Oblak?
we'd-
the academy. Same
we'd have
thing.
to
Oblak
give-
was Oblak got hurt and Ederson replaced him in that game.
Hey, this
They were
isn't
Benfica
fair. We'd have
products,
to give
and we
Oscar.
loaned
We'd have
them.
to give Oscar a week to pull this
Yeah, yeah.
information. And I know he would. I know he would.
Next week,
That's
next
fine.
week
You
I'll
can go
probably
look at it.
Next week
What
I'll
I'm-
have 20 of them.
That's fine. You can go. I don't think you'll be able to pull 20
No,
that we
I don't think
purchased
20. No
internally
chance.
Credit.
that
He wants
panned out.
extra credit.
I don't think you'll get to double digits.
I mean, anyone in the chat, if you could think of 6 players that are that
but
we
let's-
purchased internally, go ahead, Kenny.
But Mike,
But I
okay.
get what you're saying. I get Porto and Sporting
because I
do
feel
it
like
more,
Porto,
more frequently.
especially Porto. Porto has been very competitive with that tactic, right, or with that strategy. Because and they'll sprinkle in the big purchase here and there.
Correct, and
but
they're
their
competitive.
core-
But like again, of those internal acquisitions, like which ones? Because
I
you
don't
have
know.
to think about it from this perspective, right? Like Benfica not only want and not just Benfica, any club, right? And again, I think the resources and the funding also plays a part in it, right? If you have more money, you're able to go spend more money, right? And you've said this before. Whereas the Portuguese market internally is typically going to be cheaper. Now, you know, let's look at the Portos and the Sportings and the internal acquisitions that they've made within Portugal, and how many of those have gone on to really, project themselves, right? Like off the top of my head, I can think of Galeno, right? He's obviously turned into a good player. He was already a decent player at Braga. But, Porto went and got Fran Navarro from Gil Vicente, who was killing it, right? Now he's kicking it around, and I think he's at Olympiacos. He didn't even get many chances. Cardozo was top center back at Santa Clara. People wanted him to come back to Benfica. He was this, that, and the other thing. He is now, I think, at Olympiacos too. David Carmo, 20 million from Braga, right? Another one. He wasn't even called up to a lot of the games. Now I think he's at Olympiacos too, right? And Sporting has had their right. Last year they went and got Coindadi from Estoril for 7 million. I don't even know if he's still there. I mean, they went and got Artur from Estoril a couple of years ago. He's in Brazil somewhere now, right? So, like, they've also had. Now, again, I'm struggling to think of other guys that they bought internally that also went on, right? I mean, Pote and Ugarte, Pedro Vieira mentions here. Those are good shouts, right? Those are two players that have. Ugarte is not Man United. Pote has had good seasons at Sporting. But again, like, of their purchases, like, again, can we name collectively 6? I feel like I'm going to struggle to name, and maybe I'm overlooking some other names, but I mean, Porto and Ugarte are two good ones. Can anyone else give me? Again, at the point of what you're trying to get to, I 100% agree. Can we? Right, Ricardo Velho is another name that's been mentioned heavily. Right, the goalkeeper from Ferenc. He's a player that could be an internal acquisition. Rumors that Ferenc wants anywhere between $7 and $10 million or 10 million euros, which again is a hefty price tag for a keeper in the Portuguese league from Ferenc. I feel like it's just as much of a risk as to get it, to go buy someone like him in the Portuguese league for 7 to 10 million. Is he going to start? I don't know. Right. We just paid 9 million for Trubin, who's an international for the Ukraine. Right. So to answer your question, I agree with you that I think there's opportunities that we could maybe be better at internally. And, if it's not for an automatic starter, could we go get someone in the Portuguese league that we could develop and is maybe a little bit younger, knows the league, gives you that assurance more than someone from the outside. But I don't think if we line it up, I don't think it's as uneven as maybe we might think it is on the surface. But I know Oscar's doing his homework over there, so we'll see his report next week.
Who's the last purchase in league that we haven't gotten one in a long time, unless I'm like overthinking it. What acquisition in league was like the last one
Benfica
that we made? Yeah.
In Portugal?
I feel like we used to do that more
was one of them.
Who?
Chardel we got from Olhanense. He had a decent career at Benfica.
But just recently, even someone that might have not panned out. I don't think we
Chiquinho got back from Moreirense.
Chiquinho.
Andrea Horta.
We had King.
Yeah.
I'm going back to the fucking East.
Yeah.
Dinosaur.
But I feel like we've gone away from that, and maybe it's because
from Boa Vista.
Other clubs or the Portuguese teams are trying to take a little bit of advantage of us. But I mean, that is the market, right? We are the top club in Portugal, and so the price is probably going to be more for us. But I feel like theoretically, these players are already adapted to our league. They should be able to. There's got to be talent. There is talent. I do believe that there's talent in our league outside of the top 3, and we got to find those players, because also those guys tend to stick around way longer than the estrangeiros, right? So like Rafa, Pizzi, these are like 5, 6, 7 year players where we don't have to worry about turning it around and being like, oh, there we go, we lost another player. Like, these guys do tend to stick around and they can become a core. And I think that's what's helped Sporting, and that's what's helped Porto with their.
And that's what's helped Benfica in those 5, 6 years that we were winning every other year or every year.
And another recent example was Al-Musrati from Braga. Braga wanted like 20 million for Benfica to buy him,
Dude,
and he
who's-
ended up going to fucking Turkey for like 7.
The
Right, so-
the right back from Boa Vista.
Oh yeah,
They wanted like 7 from they wanted like 7 or 8 from Benfica,
Yeah.
and he
Oh,
sold for like 1.
The
For like
most
3.
recent one must have been the striker from Boa Vista that we bought. The one that
Petar Musa.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Musa.
Yeah.
Musa.
He's the
Yeah.
most recent one. Yeah, I think we paid 7 for him, something like that. Let me just run through some of these comments quickly. We've got a few here. Pedro Vieira says, hello, good evening, welcome back. Hey, Pedro. Our friend Edwindo down south next to you, Oscar. Boa noite, amigos. Viva o nosso Benfica. Abraço para todos vocês desde Palm Coast, Florida. Chico Marcelino is back. He says, now that the Chicotada psychological effect is passing, we are seeing the real Benfica that we will have for the rest of the season. I don't believe we play enough to be champions, I'm afraid. I'm going to come back to that, Oscar, for you. Pedro says, after Rui Vitória, it's been a nonstop revolving door of coaches. It has. We need a coach to stay 3 or 4 years. That's the ideal, for sure. Chico Marcinez says, don't forget we have elections in October. If Lage is not performing, the new president, I hope we have a new one, might have plans with another coach. That is another big decision. I hate having elections in the middle of the season.
Yeah, it's dumb.
I would be an advocate for changing that, but that's a topic for another day. SLBS says Kiki got a Pito Dorado bigly that second half of the season. So you're saying Kiki Flores was affected by the Pito Dorado that time that he was here in the early 2000s or after Trapattoni before JJ. Pedro says we have plenty of talented Portuguese coaches. Foreign coaches have to learn how our league works and understand Benfica mentality. Roger didn't understand Benfica or the Portuguese mentality. I will agree with that, right? Even from a communication perspective, there's always like that loss in interpretation and like
I also don't think it helped that like his English wasn't the greatest.
correct.
So, like,
but then like
him
I feel like
trying to-
our press sucks. And like they're always looking for that fucking one word or that one phrase that they can like flip upside down, and then it creates just all sorts of friction. So I will commend, guys like Ruben Amorim and Bruno Lage, who I feel from a communication perspective, I think they make a big difference when it comes to kind of managing those things. It's not about how much money you spend; it's about getting the right players. Lately, mostly misses. I still believe that we have made it to the Champions League finals had Enzo stayed. I think if Benfica was able to hold on to Enzo, I think that could have been an epic season. Unfortunately, it wasn't the case.
Was that the Enzo Darwin season, right? Was that the Darwin season?
Darwin was the year before.
Oh.
Enzo went the year after.
It was Enzo with
that was Roger's first year.
Hopefully
that was the year that
Gonzalo Ramos up top.
Yeah.
Maybe if he could have the same run Chelsea's having with Enzo right now.
Yeah. Hey, I'll tell you who Enzo looked good under. I'm not gonna say his name though.
What, 3 months?
It was more like 5, but
3 months.
Well, yeah, we won't go there.
Actually, it was actually not 5 months because there was a World Cup in between.
Yeah, he came in September, October, November,
in November,
December, January. He left at the end of January, the last day of the transfer window.
2 months he was not under him. He was under the national coach.
The World Cup was 1 month.
1 month,
Right,
so 2
The
months.
month of December. Yeah. So about 4 or 5 months.
That's whatever, man.
Don't forget that it was our scouting team that was really sustaining us in the last 20 years. Okay, right. Like scouting's an also big piece, right? And like Benfica's, right. It's not the coach. It's not the president, right? The president shouldn't need to know players. Do you think Varandas knows these players? Do you think Peter da Costa knew these players? Of course not. Nor should it be on the coach to be out finding these players, right? The coach can make recommendations, but ultimately you need to have the structure in place where your scouts are understanding what do we need, what's the type of profile that we want, age, characteristics, type of player. Here's what we got for you. Let's take a look. Coach, staff, all meet, look at it. Yes, this looks good. Let's take a look at that. Let's not look at that. Right. So there's a lot of people that are involved in this, players coming and players going. It's not, but again, it's easy for us to point the finger at the president, at the coach, because those are the guys on the surface. But there's a lot of people behind the curtain that play a big part on it.
It doesn't help the scouting team too when you're changing coaches and profiles of players that you're looking for every year.
Correct. Yeah.
There's been a ton of changes in the scouting department too.
Yeah, our head scout just left to go to England. Porto and Sporting have done great signings within the league. Forget getting players from the Portuguese league. Clubs always price them out of their value. Keep going abroad. right? We just touched on that. Look at the price that Braga always tries to get from us, right? The almost
there's always
one.
I
Ricardo
do want to
Duarte was
comment.
another one.
I want to comment on that. I think there's always going to be a premium. I think those clubs have a right to do that because guess what?
Agreed.
They're selling
Yeah, but
their best player
there's also a
to
limit to it,
their
though.
rivalry.
Correct. There's a
I know, but
premium
there's a
and then
limit.
like an exaggeration.
I get it. Yeah.
Like in the Maserati one, like you're asking for 20 and you turn around and sell for
and sound for like
for
7.
7. Like that's ridiculous. Like there's
there's
a limit
there's
a limit to
of,
how far Benfica should stretch themselves on internal transfers,
Yeah.
or any transfer in general. Like there's a limit, and when clubs are going ridiculously over their value like that, like I'm fine with Benfica saying pound sand and go elsewhere.
And you know what? Benfica has to do a better job. I think Benfica also has to do a better job of those internal negotiations, right? Like that. Yes, I think we've done probably a poor job, or maybe how should I say this? Like if Porto's able to do it because they're best friends with Braga or whatever, like there's got to be a way that Benfica can internally figure out, put someone in place to have those negotiations and get better with that. We can't just be like,
goes back to all the people involved.
Let's ask this question. Ricardo Horta was to come to Benfica. For how much did the guy want? 20. Would that be? Is that too expensive for Benfica to get Ricardo Horta for 20?
No, I think like a player like Ricardo Duarte, given the goals that he was scoring, the impact that he had, I think it was.
So why didn't Benfica get Ricardo Duarte, who's a best player in Braga, who was already adapted to the league? But it's okay to pay 25 for Koksu, that we don't know if he's going to pay.
That one I don't disagree with. Right, I think that if we had invested that money, I don't think people would have been. And he's a guy from Benfica, right? He was in the youth
100%.
squad, right? So I don't think that would have.
That deal was like
point
done.
to his like age, because Ricardo
deal.
Horta is like 27, right? Like he's going into his prime,
Correct.
but from unfortunately from the club, they also look at it at like
an investment.
Is there
I still think he's at the age where you
investment?
Yeah,
I think he's still at the age you could flip.
He's 27 right now, but he was 25.
Yeah,
just like
no, I don't.
Now.
Yeah,
no, Koksu's 23.
No, Arto Kuglu, he's 25.
Oh yeah,
but that was a cheap purchase in comparison.
9 million or 11 million or something.
No, I
agree with that.
Ricardo Horta is one that I agree. Like if we were to stretch, there's certain players I would agree like you can stretch for, but I would just say in general there's a limit.
I mean, I get it. You don't want to get punked. You don't want to get like pushed around in the league.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and guess what?
But Ricardo Horta is okay. Will I pay 20 million? Will I pay 20 million to get Ricardo Horta if he was in Panathinaikos? Yeah. Why not fucking pay Braga to get him since he's already in the league and he can have an impact right away?
And guess what? He'd still be here. He'd still be here, and Artoglu is probably going to be gone next year. These type of players, like they're like such a short period of time because they're strangeiros, and the Ricardo Hortas and the homegrown players. These guys, well, not the youth, but like these in league players.
The Raffas will stay forever.
Those are the players that end up being your core long term. And your stability, right? That where you build around.
I think we all agree that there's
one of the best that came from the league, Fabio Contreras. Forgot about him.
From Rio Ave. I think it was at Rio Ave, right?
Yeah.
I think we all agree that there's deals that could be made internally. And then there's deals that we just, like Bill said, there's a difference between paying a premium and price gouging just because of who's sitting across the table from you. Quickly before we move on to, I just wanted to get a quick thought process here, right? With the new coach comes some decisions that need to be made. There's been a lot of shouts for Otamendi to take a backseat from the squad with some of the mistakes that he's made. This season, we had the one against Santa Clara for the league game a couple of weeks ago or about a month ago. He's had some questionable tackles against Feyenoord. He looked all out of sorts. This past weekend, he had another one where he kind of like at the top of the six, kind of like laid it up. It looked like he was surprised that the ball was coming to him. But wanted to get you guys' thoughts on, do you think at this stage, given, right, Bruno Lage is phase 2 of his return to Benfica, 10 games in, given what he's up against, right, not wanting to kind of, muddy the waters too much and not create too much friction, do you think he's in a position realistically to make that call right now? And I'll let you guys go, whoever wants to go. I know Oscar's been probably more vocal than everyone else, so I'll let you go first.
Me? Well, I think Otamendi has been a player that I've come to respect. I did not want him at Benfica at first. You guys all know that. I thought he was a snake, and he was a Portista, and then he was coming to Benfica basically to make
sabotage.
But I changed my mind. I respected him a lot. I think the time, when we had the Luis down situation, where like, hey, is it time to take a back seat? Is it time to like let the young guy come in and step in, and you come in whenever we need some experience on the field? I think we've reached that moment with Otamendi. He's making mistakes after mistakes. And I feel like if it was one of the other guys making those mistakes, they would be on the bench in a heartbeat. 100%. So to me, it's be more like, now, like, I get it. He's our captain, and I don't see another captain in the squad that can take the rest of the data right now and I'll lead the team going forward. Maybe eventually we'll find somebody that can step up, but I don't see him yet on that squad, and I think that's why Otamendi is needed in there. But I think he can be a captain from a back seat very soon.
Bill?
I tend to agree, and I think I think where we are in the season, like with the schedule coming up, I would be shocked if we see any type of change right now, given Bayern and Porto. Like I'd be shocked.
Yeah.
But I agree. I think we saw a few at the tail end of last season, and we're seeing a lot more. They're like mental lapses, something you would expect from a young kid like Tony or Arujo. Like
had a couple
just
last
a
year.
mental lapse. You switch off a little bit for a second or two, and but from a guy like that, you don't expect them. And I think it's getting to the point now where he probably should take a back seat, but I just don't see it happening. I mean, it would take a huge set of fucking balls from Lage to
Yeah,
bench
Oscar
him
would
now,
have to
but,
change his
and-
hashtag to the largest balls if he made that
Yeah,
decision.
I just don't see it happening. Huge balls.
As your buddy says, huge.
I mean,
The biggest ones we've ever seen.
He's already proven his point that he has
Biggest
balls,
player in
but
the world.
the only reason I put large balls is because nobody had the balls to take out Di Maria when Di Maria needed to come out, and he's come in and takes out Di Maria at the 70th minute, which is exactly the mark that I've said many times. To Roger should be taking Di Maria out, save his legs, because he's our best player. And if we don't save his legs, we're not gonna get anywhere with Di Maria. So he's doing that, which gives him the large balls tag, right?
Is it that large?
Does he have the larger balls?
Right, and conveniently, I had this up because I knew you were going to say that. Di Maria came out the 88th minute, 71st minute, 65th minute, 77th minute, 73rd minute, 79th minute, 76th minute, 77th minute, 87th minute.
Yeah, there's absolutely days that he needs to stay in there because of how Benfica's playing or what he's doing. But there's a lot of Raja never took him out. That's a problem. Raja's afraid to take him out. That one time he took him out early, he kicked the soda or the water bottle, and never took him out again. So that's my thing. Like, yeah, some days we need to keep him there longer. Depends how Benfica's playing. But a lot of times, like a 70th mark is where Di Maria needs to come out.
Yeah, so when we're beating Boavista 3-0, Gilby sends 5-1 and Rio 5-0 to come out in the 79th, 76th, and 77th.
70th, as long as he's in the 70s.
You're fucking jumping on them. You want to save his legs, and you're going to keep him in there for 70 plus? Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
you don't have an answer to that. I know you don't have an answer to that. I was waiting for you to say
I would personally take him out if we're winning and comfortably winning at the 70th minute mark. It'd be the max you'll go, and that's fine. But that's an improvement from Roger.
I'm not saying it's not an improvement, but I mean, if you want to save his legs, take him out in the fucking 79th minute when you're up 3-0 or 5-1 or we were up 3-0 against Rio at halftime, and he played 77 minutes.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Take him out at half.
But he's been taking.
No,
him out.
I don't disagree with that. He's definitely rotated him more. But then again, he's also playing less this year. He's not in the national team anymore.
In another thing with he's not on a national team, so he does play less. Before he used to be in the Argentina and then come back and play full 90 minutes with us and all that.
There's a different element of that.
Another thing with Otamendi, I think he comes as a package deal with Di Maria. I think if Otamendi left, this Di Maria wouldn't renew.
I've seen a lot of rumor, and again, it's Twitter, but people speculating that he's gone in January.
Who?
I said that last year that I thought he was going to be gone in January, and I think Di Maria ends up in.
Then I'm going to criticize Bruno Lage because he's been playing Antonio Silva and Araújo, like switching them both off instead of the cup games. You should be playing both of those together and taking out the minutes. If they think he's going to leave in January, then he should be already adapting each other to playing Araújo and Antonio Silva playing together.
Yeah, time will tell. Look ahead quickly to Bayern Munich. So we got Bayern Munich on Wednesday at the Allianz Arena. Our history against this club is not very good. We've played them 12 matches. We've lost 9, tied 3, and won a big 0. So we've never defeated them. We've never defeated them in an official match.
Does Lage have a record against them?
So Lage, I believe this might have been him. So 18, we played them. No, it was Rui Vitória when we lost 5-1.
Now that was the close game. That was the closest games we had, 2-2 and then 1-0, right?
That was in 2016. Lage he came after. So was he there with the 4-0? Let me see. No, JJ was back. No, so I don't for Benfica he didn't play them. So last time we played them we lost 5-2, 4-0, 5-1, 2-0, and then Rui Vitória we had that 2-2 at home. I mean it's just, 3-1, 1-0, 4-1, 4-1, 0-0, 5-1. So I mean, our form isn't very good against them. With that said, in the standings, Bayern Munich is 23rd, so they're basically second to last as it relates to the playoff positions. They've got 3 points. They've scored 10, conceded 7. But they're skewed because they won their first game 9-2 at home against Dinamo Zagreb. They then went to Aston Villa, lost 1-0, and then they went to Barcelona and lost 4-1. So 3 points from 3. Benfica's got 6 points from 3 matches. Obviously, that Feyenoord match really threw a wrench in things because, again, of the first 3 matches, I think we all would have said we would have lost points to Atletico and won against Feyenoord at home. So 4 matches, there's 8 in the group or in this new system. I mean, Bayern Munich at home, this is a must win for them, especially only having 3 points. Do we think that could potentially play into Benfica's favor with their desperation? Again, given the fact that they've lost their other 2 Champions League matches, I don't know. I don't know if they're in first place in the league. I know that they just won this weekend 3-0 against Union Berlin, and they are first in the league with 23 points, and Leipzig is second with 20. So from a league perspective, they got 7 wins, 2 draws. But Kenny, I'll start with you. Given our history against them, Bruno Lage doesn't have a history against them, at least from a Benfica perspective. I don't think he would have played against them with Wolves because he wouldn't have been in Champions League. What do you expect from this game?
I don't know, man. I'd like to be positive because we are on we're in good form right now. For Champions League, I know the Feyenoord game was disappointing. It becomes essentially a wash with the Atletico game. But there is that bright side. That Atletico game is a bright side that, we can compete. And maybe it motivates us, but, away, it's going to be tough. I mean, Bayern is no joke. hopefully they can keep it close and maybe pull off a draw. I think that would obviously the result we want is the win, but I think if
if you gave me a draw, I'd sign it right now.
I take it and run all day.
I mean that would be fantastic. But I just looked at the last 3 games. I mean they've scored 5-0, 4-0, 3-0. Like
they can score goals for fun.
I mean, look at our last games. We've scored a lot of goals too.
Yeah, it's true. We also concede, and they haven't really conceded much. But, I mean, I'm hopefully I'll be able to sit down and actually watch this one. We'll see. But I don't know, guys. You guys have seen them. You guys are more in tune with Benfica. You tell me what you guys think.
Oscar, you think we're gonna see large balls?
No, we're gonna lose.
But no, we're gonna lose.
But I mean, I'm not being negative or anything like that. But
those sounded like deflated balls.
I mean, I just want to. This is my goal for the next week and a half is not lose by a lot, so we don't get to Dragão with fucking deflated balls.
We're playing at home, not the Dragão.
Yeah, it's a home game.
A lose. Yeah, we don't play Porto with deflated balls because I think that our biggest game is going to be right after Bayern.
I agree with that.
Yeah, we set it offline, I think, before we went live, me and Kenny and Bill, that I think if between the two games, right, it's a massive week, but I think between the two games, right, like if we write off the Bayern game, for me, like the Porto game is the absolute must, not just from a standings perspective, but from like a motivation perspective. Like if we can get that win against them, right, Lage is back, the team's playing well in the league, we maintain that form, and I feel like it'll just like project the team to like a whole new level from a confidence perspective. Bill, what were your thoughts on this game?
I mean, when we did the prediction game by game, I mean, this was chalk it up as a loss. I mean, you want a good result, and it's footy and anything can happen. So you're gonna go out and hope we put in a performance like we did against Atletico. But I think away to Bayern is a big task from any team, not just Benfica. It's going to be hard, but I just think that team has too much firepower, and I think our problem right now, we concede kind of stupid, silly goals, and against a team like that, you can't really have those mental lapses.
Too. That's the defense.
It's just little mental thing, like the goal this weekend. The like Ba turns off for a second, and guy gets in front. Like you do that against Harry.
Well, Carreras first, and then Ba was standing around in the box.
Yeah, like you do that against Harry Kane, he's gonna fucking bury you. Like,
but then we saw those guys play like superb against Atletico Madrid. I just hope we have one of those days that like we're like in
it all clicks.
Everything clicks.
It can happen.
For you to beat a Bayern Munich
everything
on any day, home or away, you have to be perfect.
Atletico. You need to play like
exactly. Yep, everything
has to be basically a perfect performance. Anything less than perfect is almost impossible.
Yeah. I mean, my dream would be Bayern be up 1-0 and Benfica time at the end, like a penalty kick or some shit. And then we go home with morale. Like, oh, fuck, we got this.
We stole a point.
And then we get Porto at home and destroy them.
Yeah, I think.
But I mean, you guys touched on a little bit like Bayern's form, but like there's also something to say that they're, one win out of 3 in the Champions League. Like there's,
they went.
Aston Villa beat them, and
Villa was a shock.
Yeah, that was definitely a shock. Yeah, because they could have scored a lot of goals in that game, and they
Barcelona, they went up against their old manager. I mean, and Barcelona's playing really well right now.
Yeah,
they conceded seven goals in Champions League matches.
Yeah,
10-7 differential.
Another one this week. And the 89th minute, Di Maria PK.
Wait, he's not going to come out 89th minute. He can't be in there.
He's going to score 89th minute.
Wouldn't it
He's
be
gotta-
so? Wouldn't it be so Benfica if they actually they go out there, they fucking beat Bayern on this high, and then go and shit their pants against Porto?
100%.
It would be so. It would be so Benfica.
It would. I have to admit that
What?
would be very-
Oh yeah. Like beat Bayern and then lose to Porto.
And then go
100%.
lose to Porto 5-0 or something.
I mean,
100%.
we're used to them shitting on their pants against Porto.
Yeah.
seriously. So
100%.
that wouldn't be anything new. Yeah, I think again, if you gave me the draw right now, I would sign it 100%. I wouldn't think twice
Hey, what
about it.
was it? I still remember this. Do you remember the game? You guys probably, Mike probably remembers. The other two probably don't. But remember that when we tied 4-4 in Leverkusen, like it was a fucking phenomenal
Back
game.
and
We
forth.
it
Yeah.
was, and then was it then that we right after we played we lost 7-1 to Celta de Vigo.
No, that was
We had a
different
phenomenal game in Europe. Maybe no, it wasn't the same thing. It was a phenomenal game in Europe right before the 7-1 loss to Celta de Vigo. Legit, we were like, I don't know if it was Panathinaikos. It was, I don't know what game it was, but we had a fucking phenomenal performance. And then we came back the second game
in
against
Europe.
Yeah, that was a European game. The game right before Celta de Vigo, we had a phenomenal performance. Even my dad was like celebrating like crazy.
Damn,
and then
you're
we
going
lost.
back way back, huh?
I'm trying to
99,
think.
99, 2000. That's that game.
Is it a 7-1?
That's 7-0. Celta Vigo Benfica.
Yeah, I remember that game.
2000
Yeah,
season.
right. It was a game right before that in that same competition. We
Who did
phenomenal
we
game
play
that we
before
had.
that? I
Addition.
don't
So
think we've
it's-
played
so-
Panathinaikos.
So you'd have to go back to the Europa League 99-2000 season and see who we played before that.
UEFA Cup. It was at the time.
UEFA
It was
Cup.
UEFA
Yeah,
Cup.
UEFA
yeah.
Cup.
20.
Come on, Mike. Look
You
it
said
up.
99, 2000.
Yeah.
So let's see. We beat Dinamo Bucharest, PAOK. Oh, it was PAOK. That's
PAOK.
where Sabri came from. Yeah, I remember that. Eink was there.
Epic
Yeah,
game. We had a fucking phenomenal game that day.
that's when we signed Sabri and Mahailidis.
yeah, it's
and
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Dude, that game was like unbelievable. Like everybody was like, "Oh shit, Benfica's back!" And then all of a sudden, Salma, no caralho.
Yeah, it was
Set.
3-3. We won in penalties.
Yeah.
Or extra time. Yeah, I remember that game. Sabri, the orange cleats, and then the idiot that got yelled at by Mourinho at the Alvalade for taking too long to put his shin guards on.
Yeah.
All right, so I just want to run through some of these questions that I earmarked. Oscar Chico Marcelino says, now that the chicotada psicológica effect is passing, we are seeing the real Benfica that we will have for the rest of the season. I don't believe we play enough to be champions, I'm afraid. What do you think about this?
I don't understand him. Like,
So
because the Ferenc game is that's off. I think Ferenc game is a game like if I just told you guys in the chat. Like if you go back on the recent Ferenc games, we've won by 1 goal. 3-2, 1-0. Struggled most of these games. So yeah, we at least this game we won. We didn't have a performance, but what chances did they have to score? They didn't have any chance to score. They parked the bus. They scored first, and then they parked the bus. I mean,
yeah, I don't think Truben made a save.
Huh?
I don't think Truben made a save if I think about
No,
it.
they didn't. So to me, it's like, no, we're not playing bad. Like obviously they scored early with the mental lapse, like Bill said, and then they
Wouldn't
parked
you?
the bus.
And I'd go back. I'd say back to who was that again? I'd go back to
Chico
the.
Marcelino.
I would say, wouldn't you rather be in our position than Sporting right now losing their coach?
I was literally just about to say if it was Ruben all year at Sporting, I would
agree.
probably say I don't know if we have enough to catch them and pass them at this point. But I think this Ruben leaving, I think is could potentially shake up a ton of shit.
I think we have a better chance. Ruben leaving. João Pereira is not going to be.
That's my thing. I don't think it's going to.
If he stands out as a coach in Sporting, but I think Sporting loses players in January.
I agree.
I think so too.
I think Ruben leaving is going to cause a whole. There's a wave of effect that's going to happen.
I think Gio Queiroz might have said he'd stay, blah blah blah. I think January might be his goodbye to.
The market's going to be singing.
Yeah.
Let it
We'll
ring.
see.
Mike, can you text
Um,
Kroenke to
opening
open up
bell.
the fucking wallet and just come
Yeah, seriously.
knocking with the credit card, dude?
That's
The
why
black-
they fired
the black
Edu to
one.
clear up
the
some of the
black
salary.
MX. Just
Yeah.
throw it down.
SLBS says, are you guys concerned about Alvaro being bought back by Manchester United in December? Apparently, they have a very low buyback clause. So they can't. So as far as I know, so their buyback clause is 20 million, but that buyback clause is only applicable if Benfica wants to sell, right? So if Benfica is looking to sell, Manchester United has the first preference of, hey, we can buy him for 20 million, but they can't. From what I know, they can't just show up at any
It's
point
not
and
like
be
a
like,
release
hey,
clause.
we want him back and we're going to pay you
Yeah.
20 million and we get him
It's
back, right?
It's like a first
Yeah.
option type of thing.
And people were complaining about why it was so low, right? There's a reason why we were able to get him at such a low transfer price, right? Spanish up and coming left back, Spanish international for the U21s. He was highly rated in their youth system. There's a lot of fans that were upset that he left for that price, but in turn, there's a reason why we had to include this 20 million buyback option if we do decide to sell. So, with that said, is there any concern or any frustration at the fact that that does exist from any of you guys?
No, I think it's a good negotiation tactic.
I mean, we lost Grimaldo for 0.
Yeah.
20,
True.
20, 20
If you get 20 out of 20 is
20
better
million,
than nothing.
20 million is a lot better than.
I mean, it also gives us an incentive to keep him longer
Yeah.
term, right?
No,
Like,
I think
I'm not concerned. And
Like
then
if-
again, and
if
I
we're
trust-
looking to, if we're only going to get 20 for him, like if he's playing well enough to where we're going to be like, oh, we're going to sell him, and we're only going to get 20, you might as well just fucking keep him.
in that case, you guys didn't want to keep Grimaldo for 5.
No, I'm not saying let his contract run. I'm just saying keep him instead of selling him right away. Keep him longer,
Or
like,
you just keep
longer
him
into
long
his term.
enough where Man United gets an established left back and they don't need one, and
Right.
then you can sell him for more because they
Yeah,
don't
now
want to
that-
buy him for 20.
Now you're just
The
dreaming.
thing is, I'm a big fan of Best as well.
I like Best.
I think-
I think we have two good options there.
I'm not concerned if we do need the 20 million and we sell Carreras. I like Carreras. I think he's been impressive since Elijah got there. But Best is a player that I trust as well. So we are pretty good in that position.
This last comment.
That's
It's
crazy.
the only comment that he makes.
on Twitch.
or
Is that the Twitch?
Yeah.
That's a Twitch user, right?
Yeah. I love the show. It's the perfect evolution of beard growth. It is. It's a consistent comment from Polar Nights.
Oh, that's funny.
All right, and then quickly, just give me 60 seconds of what are your expectations, Bill, for Sunday?
Fuck. I mean, it's one of those
Podcast next
games
week could be a therapy session, or it could be jubilation.
We're flying fucking high. That's and unfortunately, our growing up in our past with Porto is not a pleasant one. So I'm hopeful that since it's at home, but again, I'm cautious. I mean, it's a game. To me, it's like a must win type of situation. Like we're playing well. This is our first like big test with Lage against our rival, and I think if we don't put in a good performance and get a good result, I think it's gonna it's gonna put a little shadow over kind of how we've been playing lately.
And then not only that, it's Bayern, Porto, Nani, and then Monaco away.
Nani.
Nani, it's not Medor, it's Nani.
Aqui só cracks.
Just to give you guys some numbers, so Bruno Lage's history with Benfica last time against Porto, we lost 3-1 at home, or in the semifinals of the Allianz Cup in 2019. We lost. What's the second one here? We lost we won the 24th Jornada. We went there and won
2-1
in
right?
2019, which is when Rafa scored and Felix.
Yep.
Bill, I watched that at your house.
Yeah.
And then we lost 2-0 the following season at home. And we lost 3-2 away. So he's got 1 win in 4 against Porto.
That was Lodge was there for the 3-2.
Lodge was there for the 3-2. Yep, that was
That was the COVID. That was
before. Yeah, that was in February of 2020, and then it stopped. March 7th was our last game, and then we came back June 4th. So he's 1 win and 4. Which
that was the game right before the stop of the season.
No, the game before the stop was a tie against Stubble, March 7th.
It was a few
and then
before.
when we came back, we lost to Porto.
No, we lost before that. So that Porto game 3-2 is what started his derail.
Downfall.
So before that,
Okay.
before that Porto game, we hadn't lost in the league until Porto. So we lost to Porto in the first round, the third game, 2-0. Then we went on a run in the league, and then we lost again in the league in the 20th game against Porto. And from that game on is where it all fell apart. So we lost 3-2 against Porto. We tied 1-1 against Famalicão for the Taça. We lost to Braga 0-1 at home. We lost to Shakhtar in the Europa League. We beat Gil Vicente. We tied Shakhtar. We tied Moreirense. We tied Setúbal. We tied Tondela. We tied Portimonense.
Couldn't stop the bleeding.
Beat Rio Ave. We beat we lost at home to Santa Clara. Then we lost to Marítimo, and that's when he got sacked.
Wow.
So that Porto game, that 3-2 loss was basically what fucking just started the snowball effect. Yeah,
remember the cliff Oscar talked about for 4 years?
Yeah.
That was
the
one. That was ours.
With a weight tied at our fucking shoes and no parachute.
Yeah, bleeding out of the side. Couldn't stop the bleeding on that one.
Kenny, what do you think for Sunday?
I'm just gonna keep predicting that we will win, and then maybe one day we actually will. So
you got to be right. A broken clock's right twice a day, right?
That's right. That's right. It's been a long clock.
Oscar, I didn't ask you, right? No.
About what? Winning against Porto?
Sunday, yeah.
Against Porto, yeah, we win.
I like the confidence.
The Bayern was, we lose.
Yeah,
we lose.
I already, my mind is already convinced. I'm gonna toss Bayern's game away. I just hope it's not bad, and then we win against Porto.
All right, I like it. I think we get a result against Porto. I don't think they've looked that great. They've had some dubious calls. But at home, I hope and I expect that we win against them, which I hope could project us into a good run of games. We've got Bayern, we've got Porto, then we've got Strela at home for the Taça, we've got Monaco away, we've got Aroca away, and then we've got Guimarães. And then Bologna at home for the Champions League.
Monaco game is going to be big.
So we have a legit chance of getting through, or at least getting in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, we have
unless
Bayern, Monaco, and Bologna, right? That's the only 3 games we have left.
Bayern, Monaco, Bologna.
No,
you got Barcelona at home.
Yeah, Barca.
In January.
If anything's going to be in the playoffs, we're not
Barca and then Juve. Oh boy, yeah, you finished
that Feyenoord game.
Yeah, Juventus.
If we had gotten a win on that one, it would have left us fucking smooth.
Yeah, in really good spot. Yeah,
because that fell to nothing. Yeah,
we would have been sitting with 9 points right now after 3, right? And this Bayern game is far less pressure.
And we talked about having to get at least 13 points or 12 points in order to make
I think the sweet spot right now is like 11 or 12.
Yeah, I've seen like the AI generated things that are predicting like the playoff is like 10 or 11 points, and then
there's no reason why
it's like 16.
So that's 2 more wins, right? What do we have? 6.
We've got 6. Yeah.
So you need 2.
That's
2 more wins.
2 more wins is gonna
2 wins between.
We have
you should be beating Bologna at home.
We should.
And Monaco is only other 1 or 2 weeks.
Right. Monaco away will be a tough game, but I think we should be able to get a result there.
Juve's not.
Barcelona at home will be
Barcelona's home. Juve's away.
But also depends on how Barcelona is at the time, right? Barcelona right now is 6 points.
Real Madrid.
No, I'm saying, but at that point, right? Like if they're already safe.
By the time we play them, if they're already
by the time we play them, if they're already safe in qualification in the top 8, right? There could have some rotation, given that it's an away game.
But if we handle our business, those games probably won't
correct. Before we get there, we could be in a good spot.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're only in January.
That Monaco game.
Maybe you squeeze a tie out of one of those 2.
That'd be nice. We went and won at Juve recently. So who says we can't do it again?
Yeah.
Or at least get it. All right, so we got big game Wednesday, big game Sunday. It's an action-packed week here. Hopefully next week we're here with a positive vibe and in good spirits after at least an important win on Sunday. Again, I think the Wednesday game, I think we all agree that we just hope that it's competitive and we can show something and no one gets hurt. I think that's the important. Don't forget to, again, all the social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitch, Kick, you name it. Please leave us a like, follow, subscribe, share. We appreciate all those that were in the comments. If you're watching after the fact, I know some of you leave us comments after the fact. We appreciate those. We answer them and we look at them. So please do, if you do come back, whether you're listening on the audio version or the video version, leave us your thoughts. And again, if you haven't already, our tickets are already on sale for our event January 11th. You can reach out to us if you're looking for tickets. Again, it will be on a Saturday, January 11th. It's the day of the final of the Taça da Liga. So if all the stars align, it could be a very good evening, or it could be a frustrating evening. So just depending
Either
on
way,
how,
you just drink.
yeah. So if you don't have your tickets yet, let us know. They're going fast. Again, the event will be in Milford at the Portuguese Club. All of our information is on our social media platforms. Yeah, gentlemen, as always, it is a pleasure. Let's hope for some good results. And then we will be back next week to recap what I'm hopeful is 2 wins, but at the very least, 1 win. And let that in a tie. Yeah. Oscar's math, we got a tie and then a win.
Yeah.
Have a good evening. Viva Sporting Lisboa, Benfica. See you guys next week.
Yeah.